All right, guys, today we're checking out the ItStands RX30 fat tire electric mountain bike. On first glance, the ItStands RX30 looks like a really beefy fat tire electric mountain bike. Definitely good for tackling the streets, obviously, but also some light off-road. Shouldn't be an issue. The ItStands is kind of an unusual name. I'm not quite sure where they got that from. If you have any suggestions on how they came up with this, just leave it in the comments. But ItStands, or ItStands. So the model that we got of the RX30 is the dual hub motor version. So we got the front hub, which is 750 watts, and the rear hub, which is 1,000 watts. And I believe with the peak power output, you'll get about 2,000 watts from this bike. If you've never ridden a dual motor e-bike before, it's really interesting. So when you have the two motors working in tandem, it means you can climb hills really easily. It does make the bike a little bit heavy, so it takes a little bit longer to get to top speed, but the option to change drive modes from front wheel drive only, or rear wheel drive only, or dual motor drive, that's pretty cool and gives you a lot of options depending on your terrain. So now let's just walk through all the features. So here we have the really beefy 26 by 4 inch fat tires. We got a dual sport tread over here. So you could do some light off-road, but probably best for streets. Integrated front fender. We got the hydraulic disc brake. And we also have a front hub motor here. So this is a dual drive and the front motor is 750 watts. We also have a dual crown front suspension fork, preload adjustment, as well as a compression adjustment. We have a very bright retro moped style headlight with the grille, ergonomic rubber grip, your light button and your horn button, display controls, center mounted color LCD display, Shimano 7-speed shifter, and a right hand half twist throttle. Now inside of the frame is a 48 volt, 30 amp hour removable battery, and 30 amp hours is really good for long range exploration. Here we have the charging port. Here we have a rear mounted or center mounted shock for the swing arm, a very plush and comfortable saddle seat. Here we have a battery operated taillight with 2 modes, flashing and solid, a very large integrated rear rack, integrated rear fender, a look at the hydraulic disc brakes in the rear, Shimano derailleur, and a 1,000 watt rear hub motor. And the total weight of this bike is about 80 pounds. So now that we've gone over all the features of the ItStands RX30, let's take it out for its first ride.
The ItStands RX30 is clearly made for handling a wide variety of terrain. The first thing you'll notice is its size. It's not a compact e-bike by any means. At 80 pounds, it's on the heavier side. So if you're thinking of lifting it into the back of a car or carrying it upstairs, you may need some help. The full suspension is a standout feature. With 26 by 4 inch fat tires combined with the dual crown front suspension fork and center suspension shock, the RX30 can handle both off-road and smooth pavement. The integrated rear rack adds some functionality, allowing you to strap down cargo, groceries, or even a backpack. However, the name ItStands is an odd name for an e-bike and definitely makes you scratch your head a bit. The RX30 is equipped with not one but 2 hub motors, a 750 watt rated motor in the front and a 1,000 watt motor in the rear, giving you a peak power output of about 2,000 watts. This means you've got more than enough power to hit that 28 mile/hour top speed. The right-hand half-twist throttle is responsive, and the bike takes off easily, making it great for steep inclines and off-road paths. The 48 volt 30 amp hour removable battery is another highlight. You're looking at around 80 miles of range depending on your weight, terrain, and pedal assist level. This means you can take this bike on some serious adventures without constantly worrying about charging up. Just remember that you'll use up more power staying in dual motor riding mode. Comfort-wise, the RX30 delivers. The full suspension setup, combined with those fat tires, creates a smooth ride over most terrain. Whether you're cruising over grass hills or city streets, the bike handles bumps and vibrations with ease. The saddle seat comes with an integrated taillight, adding a bit of safety and visibility if you're riding at night. However, the light is battery operated rather than wired in, which can be a hassle to replace. The Shimano 7-speed shifter gives you decent control over your riding experience. Although, to be honest, with dual motors providing so much power, you might find yourself sticking to the throttle more often than not. And the hydraulic disc brakes are a good addition, offering solid stopping power even at high speeds.
Alright guys, first parking lot ride with the ItStands RX30. I'm on the short side, I'm about 5'5" inches, so I can't quite flat foot the bike. So I'm kind of tippy-toeing on one leg and I'm able to sit on the saddle. This bike is probably best for riders maybe over 5'7" or 5'8". Okay, so I have only rear wheel drive enabled right now, so we'll try that first. We'll bump it up to, we'll just go up to pedal assist level 3. Let's see how that feels. Pedal right into it, no throttle. and a bit of a slow start on launch, only because the bike is heavy with these two motors attached to it. But yeah, once you get going, no issues whatsoever. Okay, so yeah, this feels pretty comfortable. The parking lot is kind of jacked up, so the full suspension is doing its thing. I think the front fork could be adjusted a little bit more, but the rear shock is working. It is also center mounted, so I think I'm able to feel it a little bit more, at least underneath my seat. Okay, so we are in rear wheel drive. We'll bump it up to pedal assist level 5 and give it a little bit more pedaling power. Yeah, way more power. Whew. It's parking lot. The suspension is working, but you know, it's a pretty bumpy parking lot. Not bad, not bad. Let's give it a little throttle and some pedal power. Yeah, no problem. Very cool. All right, so let's try a different riding mode. This one is front wheel drive. So the sensation when you put it on front wheel drive is like the bike is pulling you, obviously. So more power in the front to pull you. And I think this would be ideal for climbing hills. But yeah, it feels a little bit more delayed than the rear wheel drive, obviously. When the torque is coming from the back, it just gives you a bit more of a push, whereas this is more of a pull sensation. Now let's put it on all-wheel drive. Okay, all-wheel drive enabled. And yeah, plenty of torque off the line. Way more power, way more speed too, I think. I think we're getting it to a higher top speed, if I'm not mistaken. Could go up this hill. Power up this hill pretty easily with this all-wheel drive. Yeah, no problems whatsoever. And on this grassy hill, it's a bit of off-road, but the suspension is working. No problems there. We'll come back down. Yeah, plenty of power on all-wheel drive. I really like this mode. Wow, so much power. If you've never ridden an all-wheel drive e-bike before, it is pretty wild. It also makes the bike very heavy, but we'll get into it. All right, so let me just get some top speed and then do a little brake test. See if these brakes can stop the all-wheel drive motors from spinning. Let me start from the end of the lot here. Okay, here we go. Woo! All right, and brake. Okay, so I'm really impressed with the ItStands RX30. If you've never ridden an all-wheel drive e-bike before, it's a lot of fun. This thing is kind of like instant torque right off the line. And if you live in a hilly area, that's where I think all-wheel drive would really shine. So, however, it does make the bike a little bit heavier, having two motors, front and back. So that's something to be aware of. You'll probably need some dedicated storage. If you have a bike like this, something like a shed or a garage, because carrying this upstairs would be kind of an issue. Full suspension was good. This parking lot has some repairs to it. Looks like they paved over some potholes, but it's still pretty bumpy. And the suspension did its thing over here, as well as on the grassy hill when we rode it up the hill. Other than that, most of the other features are pretty standard for a fat tire electric mountain bike. All the parts seem decent. I wish the taillight in the back was wired in instead of battery operated, because you'll have to replace that eventually. Integrated rear rack, nice touch. And I think the only thing that is kind of weird for me is the ItStands name. I'm not quite sure what that means. It's so prominent, like on the frame, the branding, that you know, you'll have to probably mention it if someone asks what kind of bike this is. But you know, if you don't care about stuff like that, then that shouldn't be an issue. Anyway, yeah, very impressive, very cool bike. Definitely can haul cargo, and definitely can climb hills. The ItStands RX30.
So here's what we like. The full suspension system creates a very comfortable ride, even on rough terrain. The high-capacity 30 amp-hour battery is ideal for long-range exploration, and the integrated rear rack adds functionality for carrying cargo, making it great for commuting. But here's some things to consider. It's heavy and takes up a lot of space, which could be a hassle if you're tight on storage or plan to transport it frequently. Also, the bike size could be a challenge if you're on the shorter side, so be mindful of that before committing. And the name ItStands is definitely one of the more curious e-bike names I've come across. It kind of makes you wonder what they were going for. Overall, the ItStands RX30 is a decent e-bike with dual motors, fat tires, and a high-capacity battery that makes it a solid option for long-range exploration. It's got the comfort factor nailed down thanks to its full suspension setup, and the power output is more than enough to tackle any terrain you throw at it. That said, the weight and size might be deal breakers for some, and it's definitely not the most discreet e-bike on the market. So what do you think? Does the ItStands RX30 sound like a fit for your next adventure, or do you want more? Let us know in the comments below, and we'll see you guys in the next video.